But we're going to start off this show about some mid-round money makers. Now, bro, I'm going to set it up this way. We all know how important this upcoming draft is for Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski to secure their jobs past the 2025 season. And I think one of the knocks on Andrew Berry, one of a few knocks on Andrew Berry, is the lack of drafting of playmakers, right? Impact guys and dudes that can make a difference right away. And when you made your appearance on the flagship show last week, I was at home watching, and I remember you saying, man, the thing about skill position players and those playmakers is no matter what level, like you can always go find those cats. But it seemed like for the Cleveland Browns, every time they tried to go find that legit playmaker, they struck out and missed. Even if it was like a late round gem, like a guy like Mike Woods, who I'm a big fan of, who quite really haven't, gotten the opportunities to show what he can do, or, the Anthony Short situation, a guy who had a whole lot of speed, but really wasn't a route runner, really couldn't catch the ball on a consistent basis. And so when you look at the playmakers or lack thereof on this team, how important is it to you for the Cleveland Browns to add a few of those in this upcoming draft?
Number one, I think is huge. Like you need to, no matter who your quarterback is going to be, right? Whether it's a rookie you draft, whether it's somebody on the roster that you have to surround that particular person with playmakers. You have to. You have to surround those guys with an opportunity to compete. If you look at the AFC, you got the Bills. They're going to put up points. You got Joe Burrow. They ain't going to play no defense in Cincinnati, but they're going to score some
They're going to
points.
score some
Right?
points. Yeah.
They're going to score some points. You got Lamar Jackson who's going to score, right? So, and if potentially Aaron Rodgers could be with the Steelers, and they'll potentially have a DK Metcalf on one side, George Pickens, they'll probably draft a running back. They could put up some points as well. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to compete with the people in your conference. You have to be able to score. You got Judy, you got Njoku. You need somebody. You probably need two other guys, honestly. But to think about what you just said, it's not always on the player. It's on the coaches as well. I'll never forget my rookie year in Jacksonville, 2011. We had a receiver room, and I didn't live up to my potential my rookie year because I needed to learn and know the details of how to be a professional, the details of how to get open, the details of how to get a good release off the line of scrimmage, the details of how to run routes and how to run a proper curl route, a proper post route, a proper comeback. This different techniques, and I wasn't taught that my rookie year. Then my second year, my receiver coach came in, Jerry Sullivan, saved my career. Literally, because he taught me the details, the ins and outs of everything about a receiver, from how you get the hands off the how you get your DB's hands off of you to understanding, okay, the defense when there's a safety and a cornerback on top of each other, that nickel cornerback is going to blitz. Like just understanding the details of the game that was taught to by a coach. So yes, on it from a player standpoint, those guys for the Browns have not worked out. But from a coaching standpoint, from a development standpoint, you have to look at what are they really doing inside that organization to help these guys really develop. Like there's no reason the Schwartz or Mike Woods or whatever has not reached their potential yet, because they are more than capable. It's just they haven't even got the opportunity, or they haven't been taught well, in my opinion, or what they needed to learn to be able to take that next step. Because you even see things from Cedric Tillman. Like he's made plays and made strides, but sometimes it's just like it's up or down, right? So
Right.
how many guys have they really developed in the skill room? It's going to be interesting. So they have to bring in a playmaker for sure.
It's funny you say that, man, because they didn't, when the Cleveland Browns kind of revamped and fired all their offensive coaches, I thought a lot of the fan base, was scratching their head like I was, that the wide receiver coach stayed intact. When in reality, that's been one of our worst positions, over the last couple of years. I remember Cedric Tillman's rookie season. He didn't make much noise, but I can remember, I think that game versus the Jets in particular, Flacco tried to throw, I think it was an in route in the back of the end zone on the fourth down play, and he didn't run the route correctly. Can't remember if the ball was intercepted or what happened, but a lot of running, correct routes was a lot of his issues. Now, he got his opportunities last year with a different quarterback, and he was able to show something that show some, of his skill set. And so, as to your point, you're gonna have to look at the coaching as well. And you talk about drafting playmakers, right? If you look at the top wide receiver prospects in this year's draft, Travis Hunter probably is number one above Tech, but
Yeah.
I think Travis is all but a lock to be drafted by the Cleveland Browns here at number 2. So I'm like you. The
Hmm.
Browns need more than one playmaker at wide receiver. We can use some playmakers at wide receiver, tight end, running back, things like that. And
Sure.
we're going to take a couple wide receivers in this first segment of this show and just start kind of breaking them down and seeing guys that you like. And let's start with Luther Burden. This is one guy, man, you talked about the other day. Luther, this is his stats last season compared to his career. 61 receptions. He had 676 yards, 6 touchdowns, over 2,200 yards receiving in his collegiate career, over 20 touchdowns, and he averages at least a first down per reception. Man, what about this dude? Do you really like?
Well, last year was a tough year for him because his sophomore year he put up over 1,000 yards, a ridiculous amount of touchdowns. He was unbelievable. Coming into this year, he was a lock to be a first or top 15 pick in this year's draft. Now, because of inconsistent quarterback play, some other things going on that offensive side, because Missouri was ranked high coming into this year. Well, they didn't play well as a team, and because
Mhm.
of that, it hurt his statistics, right? But it does not take away his playmaking ability. He is Debo Samuel. He's 6 feet, 206. The comparison I have for him is simple. It's Debo Samuel. His run after catch is amazing. I think honestly, Travis Hunter's probably one in my book when it comes to yards after catch or run after catch. I think Luther's two. If you look at his catches on his career, 75% of them, this is the stat coming from Pro Football Focus, 75% of them, of his catches were under or within 10 yards, meaning he was catching the ball and making guys miss. He was catching the ball and running after the catch. He's physical. He's tough. He can do it all when the ball's in his hands. He's dynamic when the ball is in his hands. He's physical. He can run by you, run a 4.41 at the combine. He can line up on the outside. He can line up on the inside. He is somebody I like a lot. And I still think he's developing. I still think he's a guy that can come in right away and make an impact, but also he's a guy that can develop as time goes. The offense they use with Missouri, again, he was getting a lot of short routes. He was getting a lot of underneath type stuff, but he can be a guy to take the top off the defense. He can run go routes, run post corners, run deep digs. He will be a good compliment, I think, to Jerry Jeudy. So I love me some Luther Burden. Don't get caught up in the statistics because that threw all of us off this year. But it was an inconsistent quarterback play. But this dude can play. Like he can really come in day one, and I think that's critical. Honestly, I'm not trying to knock the coaching staff and knock the receiver coach, but if you can find a guy that is going to impact you from day one, it's not as much on the coaching staff to learn to teach them, if that makes sense.
No, it
There'll
make
be
a lot of sense to
nuances
me.
he has to learn, right? But there's not gonna be a ton that he has to teach where he's already a day one playmaker, in my opinion.
It's almost like we know the struggles, especially when it comes to drafting wide receivers under the Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski regime. So it's
Yeah.
like if you're gonna go draft a couple wide receivers, a la Travis Hunter and a guy like Luther Burden, I think basically what you're saying is, man, it's really hard to mess this up. Like these
Yes.
dudes are so talented that you can come in and their talent alone will kind of like curve the coaching aspect of it some, right? Because they have those skill sets. And I remember Deion Sanders saying for a guy like Travis Hunter, he said, man, the NFL is going to be no problem for him because it's much slower than the collegiate game. And that's the
Mm,
first time I heard that, because you always hear the game is much
true.
faster, but if he's saying Travis is so light years ahead that the game is going to slow down for him. We talked about Luther Burden a couple of episodes ago, and then you see a lot of mock drafts that has him mocked anywhere from 24 to about 35, 36. And so he might be a guy that is the first pick of day 2 of the NFL draft. I don't foresee the Cleveland Browns trading up for Luther Burden. I think if you trade up, it's probably for an offensive lineman or a quarterback, because when it comes to those two positions, if you can get a fifth-year option and be able to exercise that, you want to be able to do so. Another wide receiver that you like and we talked about was this young man right here, Tez Johnson. Yeah, your boy Tyvis Powell likes Tez a lot too. Tell me about Tez, man. What is it about Tez that stands out to you as you look at his stats from last year and then over the course of his collegiate career?
He's just a big play waiting to happen. The comparison I would have for him is like a Tank Dell type. And me being able to cover the Texans here, when you can compare a guy to Tank Dell, that's a big compliment. Tank was huge with the Houston Texans before he got hurt. So for Tez to be compared to him, same body type, right? Slender, 5'10", 155, maybe soaking wet, which would be a concern, right? But he can get open. He can route run his butt off. There's nobody that's going to be able to play off coverage and be able to not, keep him from getting open. He is ridiculous at his routes. He did a great job at the Senior Bowl, showcasing in one-on-ones. Did a good job getting off the press. Needs to be more consistent getting off the press because he's a smaller guy. So he has to really use his quickness against bigger guys that are going to try to get his hands on him. But he's just a big play waiting to happen. He reminds me of a poor man's Deshaun Jackson, right? The same build, the same opportunities. He can go down the field. He can catch bubble screens and go to the house. He can catch short routes and go to the house. Does a good job being elusive and making guys miss, right? Does an excellent job, and I think I learned this from Marvin Harrison. Doesn't take a lot of hits. He's able to get down when he needs to, and that's what he needs to do, being 5'10", 155, right? The only knock I have on him, again, would be his build. And when he does get hit, he didn't finish the Big Ten championship game against Ohio State because he got knocked out the game. So it's important for him to learn. Not, I shouldn't say learn. It's important for him, whatever offense he's in, to continue to get down, not take the big hits. Sometimes he does a little bit too many juke moves, but this dude can play some football. Catches the ball well. He's not going to be your 50-50 guy, right? He's going to be your slot guy. You put him in the slot. You find a matchup for him. Let him work his hips. Let him work his juke moves. Get him open. He can be your intermediate guy. Can turn something intermediate to a big game. So I really like Tez. It's an explosive playmaker, and he can do some things in the return game too.
Now with Tez, let me ask you this: which is Tez a better complement to? Let's say your package is Judy, Hunter. I don't know where Cedric Tillman fit in that. And if you draft Tez, like as they line up on a football field, who goes where and who's more impactful where?
Good question. So Judy and Travis will be my X and Z, my two outside receivers, right? Those are my guys. Will they stay out there all the time? No. We got to move them around. We got to motion them. We got to find mismatches. We got to get the press coverage off of them, right? So we'll motion them and move them around. But those will be my X and my Z receiver, right? Two guys on the outside. Cedric can be outside. So you go 11 personnel. You can put Cedric on the outside. You can move Travis in, or you can move Judy in. But I think Tez will be best used as probably a number 4 type receiver, number 3 or 4 receiver in the slot. Get him on a safety. Get him on linebackers at times. Get him on the nickel. Get him on guys that cannot cover him. So put him in the slot. Use him in motions. Use him in motions and come behind the quarterback. Use him in motions and come across the field. You can give him jet sweeps. You can find ways to use Tez in the slot. That's where he's going to make his living. Not going to be outside. You don't want him with the big guys outside. You want to find him mismatches, put the nickel on him. If it's nickel on slot, oh, I love that matchup. Ted's going to get open. He's so quick. He's dynamic in his route running. He can do that, right? And then your other 3 with Cedric and Travis and Judy, they can play inside outside. I would love to move Travis around. You can move Judy around, but Judy's he's your solidified. To me, he's your Z. He's your guy that's going to get open. He can be your intermediate threat. He can be your possession guy. And then Travis will be your X. He's going down the field. He can make the huge play. And then Cedric can be a good quality third guy.
And finally, man, before we move on to our next topic, we got to highlight this young man right here, Keandre Lambert-Smith. This dude was at Penn State, transferred, played his final season at Auburn, had almost 1,000 yards receiving last year in the SEC, 8 touchdowns, 19 career touchdowns overall. Man, this is a dude I really, really like. Cecil, like I just think he comes with that. First of all, you play in the Big Ten, and I feel like anybody that play in the Big Ten, they have this AFC North pedigree. They understand, this geographic of football, should I say. And anytime that you get a dude that's a 50-50 guy that can stretch the football field, man, sign me up for something like that. I like dudes who got that dog mentality. And then when you take a chance on yourself to transfer that late in your career and you're still productive, it says a lot about you. You went from the Big Ten to the SEC. So to me, top tier competition, and you have proven that you can be able to hold your own damn near if it's in the Big Ten or in the SEC. To go to Auburn, to be in that offense and that system for 1 year and to almost put up 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns with a quarterback that you was not familiar with, it just says a lot about his game to me.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Like, let's not overlook him going from Penn State, a top 15, consistent top 15, top 20 team in the nation, one of the best conferences in the NCAA, and then going to Auburn, and you're playing against Alabama and the top guys every single week in the SEC. And for him to put up almost 950 or almost 1,000 yards in a season in college, that's a big deal. On 50 receptions, look at his average there. That means almost every one of his catches was a big play. 19.6. That means he had an explosive play almost on every single one of his 50 catches. That's big time. That's a playmaker that can go down the field. That's somebody that's going to make plays when the ball's in his hand. So that's intriguing, and I think he'll be there in the between late second and fourth round that you can pick him up, and he can be a guy that come in and make some plays for you. So that's an intriguing prospect right there. I like that.
All right, man. So before we move on, we highlighted a couple guys that can be, mid-round playmakers for the Cleveland Browns if they opt to go for another pass catcher. Of the guys that we highlighted today, who would you like to see next to Travis Hunter and Jerry Jeudy in that same room with Cedric Tillman? And I even put Jamari Thrash in there. Who would you like to see in that room of all the guys that we did a breakdown on today?
I think my favorite would be Luther. I think he makes the most sense. I think he's the most, like we talked about, he's the most day one ready, right? If he had a solid quarterback this year, we wouldn't even be talking about him because he's a top 15 pick. Like, he's a first round pick. Not a lot of injury history, great size, 6 feet 206, can play inside, can play outside. And again, when the ball is in his hands, he's dynamic. So you add him to the fold, you got something special going on. Like, let's not overlook Njoku. Let's not overlook Jerry Jeudy in the years they had last year. So if you can add a Travis Hunter and you can add or this guy, you're putting yourself in position again, no matter who's the quarterback, but they have a good starting offense around them. And that's what you want. You want a solid offense built around your quarterback so they can have somebody to throw to, they can make plays. And again, you got to keep up in the AFC to score these points. So I think Luther is the most ready right now. I love the kid from Auburn and I love Tez Johnson, but if I had to pick one, I'll pick Luther Burden out of the ones we talked about.
Yeah, I'll take Luther Burden as well, man. I just think he makes the more sense, makes the most sense, as you alluded to. This is a kid that was 1,000 yard receiver just a season ago, 2 seasons ago. And when you look at what Jerry Jeudy already brings to the table, we pretty much know what you're going to get out of Travis Hunter. We've seen a snippet of what Cedric Tillman is capable of doing. I like a young Jamari Thrash. And so if you put this guy right here in that receiver room, now all of a sudden that room don't look as bad as it has in recent years, man.